Hello, hi, welcome to our Happy Harvest Book Club. I am Dawn and I thank you for tuning in with us and joining my channel. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to our book club channel. And I just wanted to do our December close out. I know it's been a while, so greetings and thank you for joining. So our book of the month of December was Sitting in the Front Pew, and that was a novel by Parry Brown, Eberstatten Brown. Some of you may know that author. And this book was a very interesting book. I have read this book many years ago. It's not like that many years ago, but I read it back in 2009, 10, somewhere there, and it was an interesting read again. And honestly, I don't remember. It was I know toward the end it had a little bit of cursing or something like that, but I don't remember it was like that. So forgive me for those of you who was offended by the language at the very end. It wasn't that many, but it was just a little sharp there at the very end. I do listen to audio and I do also read, so it can be a little bit harsh and domineering the audience when you do listen to it, because of the language. But overall, it was a good book. I would say out of a 5, I would have given it probably a 3.5, not all the way a 4 or 5, but maybe 3.5. So the book was really about 4 sisters, and there was the mother who had died, and the father. It's about a family, and now the mom had already passed, and then there was the father, and the father had a fiance. Unfortunately, the father passed away, and he passed away with a secret. And now the older sister was summoned to let her know about the death of her father, and she was traveling back to make funeral arrangements and meet up with the rest of the family and to discuss funeral arrangements and so forth. And during this time, there was several different things that went on, meeting the uncle and friends and family, and just getting to know one another, and of course sisters altercations, and just different questions and all these different things that took place during that time. So one of the big highlight of the book was, I'm just jumping straight into it, was the fact that they found out that their father had another daughter. She actually was the oldest daughter, who turned out to be quite interesting, which caused a lot of drift and separation among the family, current siblings. And there was one in particular who, I think her name was Claudia, who did not want to have the sister in the funeral, which was creating some some backlash and things like that. And although the new sister was trying to explain to her that, hey, I have known about you guys for a very long time, her father, which is also their father, had already explained all of this to them, told them about each person. The father took care of her very well. She was, it was like living having a double family, and she just wanted to learn who her sisters were and be accepted by them. But some did, and took one or two of them took a little time, but they actually conformed, except one who was outrageously upset about it, didn't want to accept the sister, and decided to explode during the funeral, was outrageously paranoid and was just upset and caused an uproar at the funeral, and just was really, really out of order. And but she was upset, she was hurting. And how do you look at the situation? You can put your comments below, but how do you um, go from having four sisters or three sisters to learning at the time of your father's funeral, where you're grieving and mourning the loss of your father, to hear now you have a sister that your father kept all your life a secret? So how do you deal with that? Let me know in your comments. How do you deal with the emotions? How do you deal with the upsy turvies? How do you deal with people, your siblings, are telling you to get over it and embrace? How do you deal? Do you forgive? Do you forget? Do you move on? Do you accept? So what are your thoughts on this? Because this is really interesting, and you want to think about how do you feel like when there's an intruder, or do you consider her an intruder when there's like you feel like betrayed? But how do you address that now that the person you feel like betrayed you is deceased? So there's almost like, okay, you just dropped this bag in front of me, and yet you just left it and you took off. So I have no time to ask you what's in the bag, or to tell you I don't want this bag so you can take it back. But you can't, because the person dropped it and disappeared, and you don't know where they live, you don't know where they are, you've never seen them. So you're like stuck with this load of mess that you just don't want to deal with. And so how do you respond? Are you nice to the person, or you say welcome in, but you want to be nice and show that what Jesus would do attitude, but then you're dealing with all these emotions of, okay, I trusted my daddy, and now I feel like he betrayed me, and yet I'm supposed to be presenting myself like I care about it at the funeral. So, it was like one basket of eggs here and yet another basket about to crack. So, there was a lot of emotions going on here, real people, real time, real situation in this book. And they were Christians, they were brought up in the church, they were church going family. So sitting in the front pew was the fact that here you are supposed to be showing an example, and your father just died and they're burying, and then everybody's expected to be at this funeral, and to all of you to sit in the front pew, but yet you don't want to embrace your sister. Because is it guilt, or you refuse to accept it because what would that look like for you? Would your father's name be tarnished? Would you look like you will have a name print on the back of your head that your father was an adulterer? Was he considered, now that he's passed, his name will no longer be considered a good, moral, outstanding citizen? So what is those emotions telling you and taking you? So those are things that you have to think about. But that's what the book, the gist of the whole book was about. It was about those sisters. You had the sister who was so loving and welcoming. Oh, really? Oh, I love you. You're my daddy's daughter. I welcome you. Then you have the sister who's standoffish and checking you out, but then she eased into accepting you. Then you have the other sister who just totally is que sera, whatever will be, will be. If daddy say you're my daughter, then you're my sister, then you're my sister. Then you have the one sister who just absolutely doesn't trust anybody, doesn't trust this new sister, and does not want to even try. And she begins to push and push, and resulted in a situation where it's unfavorable. She doesn't feel like she wants to deal with it. And that's pretty much how that went down. So needless to say, they all, sort of try to make men's meet and try to come together. But, Claudia was the one that was still on the end of not wanting to communicate in that sense. But but overall, like I said, the book was a good read. And if I remember, I sat down in one setting, less than 6 hours, to, read the book prior to my second time reading it again. So, it's always a different time, second time around. So, that's the gist of the review on the book, and hope you guys had a good read, and wish you will write a review on Google, um, good read, and say what you like about the book and make comments, and please subscribe to my channel so we can be on the same page. And the second book that we're reading is Pastors Need a Boo. Get that book, start reading. We're gonna do the same thing. I'll do a book review, and we'll do a reading selection of topics or discussion about what might have happened or what happened. So get your read and get your books, and continue to do great. So hope you have a wonderful day, and don't forget to subscribe. God bless you.